Hi, my name is Varun Reddy Chintala, and these are my teammates Saikoshik Malala and Priyanka Kumula. And this is our final project presentation for the course Managerial Finance. The topic that we have selected for our project is Avis versus Hedge. Next slide. These are the table of contents that we have created for our project. The first one is to find out who the dominant position is in the industry, and then let's look at the gross profit for both the companies Hertz and Avis, and then we look at the net incomes for these companies, and then we look at EBIT and EBIT data that we have calculated for Hertz and Avis, and finally let's look at the free cash flows for these companies and various ratios that we have calculated to find which of these is in a better position in the industry. Next slide. Yeah, so the industry that we have selected for our project is auto rental industry, and Hertz and Avis are two of the biggest players in the auto industry. So Avis is an American car rental company, and it's headquartered in New Jersey. And the company's Budget Rent-A-Car, Budget Truck Rental, and Zipcar are also part of Avis. Avis Budget Group operates the Avis brand in many countries around the globe. And in 2011, Avis announced it was acquiring Avis Europe, which has been a separate corporation until then. And coming to Hedge Corporation, it's a subsidiary of Hedge Global Holdings Inc. It's an American car rental company, and it's headquartered in Florida. It operates approximately in 12,000 corporate offices around the globe. Next slide. Yeah. So to determine the dominant position of the industry, we have looked at various surveys that were conducted, and we have also calculated the ratios from the financial statements given by these companies for the financial year 2020. So in 2019, according to BTN survey, Avis was in the second place in the car rental industry, and it acquired this through good customer experience for its mobile app and technology investments. And in the year 2020, when pandemic has hit, Avis did not face bankruptcy. Instead, it issued bonds twice to maintain high liquidity. Coming to Hertz in 2019, according to the BTN survey, Hertz was placed at fifth place, and it's a company with good brands and good operating team. And because of the pandemic in the year 2020, Hertz filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And in the 2020, Hertz was unable to issue any bonds. So from all this data, we have come to a conclusion that Avis is a more dominant player in the industry than Hertz. And now the presentation will be continued by my teammate Priyanka.
Hi, this is Priyanka. So coming to the profit for Hertz and Avis, Avis has $394 million as a profit in 2020, and Hertz has a negative of $401 million. And gross profit is used to assess the company's performance in using labor and supply goods. So by comparing this, Avis is in better position when compared to Hertz. And next slide. So coming to the net income is used to calculate mm, like company's profits. So from its revenue. So in 2020 is very bad year for car rental industry. So Havis has minus $272 million net income, and Hertz has negative of $1,000, like thousand $714 million for Hertz. So when compared to the net income of both, so Hertz is Avis is in better position when compared to Hertz in year of 2020. And coming to the next slide. So coming to EBIT is nothing but which is earnings before interest and taxes, which is used to measure the company's profits from its operation. So Avis is in better position. It has 725 negative of $725 million, and Hertz has negative of $1435 million. So So Avis handle it in better way when compared to Hertz. So and it has more earnings and when compared to Hertz. So and coming to EBITDA, which is like earnings before interest and taxes, and also it includes the depreciation and amortization. It measures the financial performance. So so Avis has better EBITDA when compared to Hertz. And coming to the next slides, so this is how the graphical representation of EBITDA for Hertz and Avis. So it has Avis has better earnings and when compared to Hertz. So from all these calculations like net income, gross profits, we can conclude that Avis is in better position and it handled better. It handled pandemic better when compared to Hertz. So and it also has good depths. And next slides will be continued by Kaushik.
So these are different cash flow coverages and ratios we calculated based on which we can determine the financial position of the companies. The cash ratio for Avis is 3.31, which is greater than Hertz, which has a cash ratio of 2.48. And the next ratio is these are the free cash flows. They are calculated using operating cash flow minus capital expenditure. So Avis cash flow is 3,949 million, and Hertz cash flow is 5,471 million. Moving on to the next ratio, these are the ratios we used for the management to decide on which one to invest. These are current ratios: debt to equity ratio, uh, cash flow per sales ratio, cash flow to debt ratio. So these are the individual descriptions of the ratio. If the current liabilities and assets are much above than the actual obligations, then the cash is locked. But if the ratio is relatively low because of high current liabilities, and the corporation could have a difficulty fulfilling its short-term responsibilities. Uh, this is a quick ratio. In Hertz case, the rate is lesser than the Avis, indicating Hertz current assets have more cash while Avis current assets have less cash. Moving on to the next slide, this is the total debt ratio. This is an indication of the share of debt bearing assets financed. In this scenario, Hertz has a greater share of its debt financed than Avis. Next is the debt to equity ratio. For Avis, it's 2.81, and for Hertz is 26.51. Hertz has very high debt to equity ratio, which gives a better position for Avis. The next is assets to turnover ratio. The assets turnover ratio for Avis is more than Hertz, as you can see the figures. Moving on to the next slide. This is the inventory turnover ratio. It is calculated in a given period, and for Hertz and Avis, this is not applicable as there is no average inventory. So based on all the ratios and the discussions from the team members, we can conclude that the profit margin for Avis is larger than Hertz. So investors, financial analysts can invest in Avis when compared to Hertz. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, here are some references. These are the references we used for the presentation. Thanks.